some Muslims believe that Allah has an arm or a leg as stated in the Quran. How can this be correct? Isn't it? This is attributing human qualities to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, subhanallah, Brother Tahir, you just answered yourself in the beginning when you said some Muslims believe that Allah has an arm or leg as it is stated and mentioned in the Quran. So if it is stated in the Quran, what other proof do you need? Rather, the question should be, how can we perceive these states? Number one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentioned specific parts, and I would mention them and the references in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وقالت اليهود يد الله مغلولة غلت أيديهم ولعنوا بما قالوا بل يداه مبسوطتان ينفق كيف يشاء. In this ayah, without going into the details of its meaning and the reason of its revelation, a part of the ayah in this segment, He says, بل يداه مبسوطتان. Allah's hands are stretched out. He spends generously and He provides generously, in reply to what the Jews were saying, that God forbid that his hands are tied up or shackled to his neck, yani he does not spend. I don't want to say the word exactly because this is awful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala quoted the false allegation and He refuted that by saying, بَلْ يَدَاهُ. Doesn't only have one hand, rather two. يَدَاهُ, dual. His two hands are stretched out. يُنْفِقُ كَيْفَ يَشَاءُ. He spends as he wills. Okay, so the ayah stated so. In Surah Al-Qalam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in ayah number 42, يَوْمَ يُكْشَفُ عَنْ سَاقٍ وَيُدْعَوْنَ إِلَى السُّجُودِ فَلَا يَسْتَطِيعُونَ. In some of the tafsir and references and ahadith, the saq here refers to Allah's shin. So He has a leg, and He would lay down, uncovered or bare His shin so that people will fall in prostration, except those who fail to prostrate in this life. They will not. وَيُدْعَوْنَ إِلَى السُّجُودِ فَلَا يَسْتَطِيعُونَ. They will not be able to make sujood. Only the believers will prostrate themselves. Every time they try to make sujood, their backs will be stiff, they fall on their faces. وَيُدْعَوْنَ إِلَى السُّجُودِ فَلَا يَسْتَطِيعُونَ. So every ayah speaks about Allah's sight, Allah's hearing, Allah's attributes. You gotta measure it according to the other ayah of Surah Al-Shura, which will say that every Muslim, every ordinary Muslim must be aware of this ayah. In ayah number 11 of Surah Al-Shura, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. Negation. There is nothing that exists which is like Him. He is the only one. Nothing looks like Him. Nothing shares with Allah His traits or attributes. And He's the all-hearer, He's the all-seer. Okay. We hear, we see, we have eyes, and Allah does have eyes, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described Himself. وَلِتُصْنَعَ عَلَى عَيْنِي. But we can say that our eyes are like His. There is no comparison. So the ayah says, when you have the names, it doesn't mean that you share with Allah the attributes. In Surah Al-Ikhlas, which is equivalent to 1/3 of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says by the end, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. No one is ever equivalent to Him. No angel, no prophet, or any human being. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beyond your imagination and above anything that you can visualize or imagine. If His arsh is that great and His kursi is that great, then what about the one who created all of that? And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in the hadith, the whole dunya and what it contains, the heavens, the earth, the galaxies, the different stars and the planets, compared to Al-Kursi, which is a footstool that is put beneath or next to Al-Arsh, is like a ring thrown in desert. And Al-Kursi, this huge Kursi, which the whole dunya is like a drop in its ocean, Al-Kursi itself is like a ring thrown in a desert compared to Al-Arsh. This is a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how can you ever allow yourself to think that your hand is like Allah's hand, or your leg is like Allah's leg? The belief of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah in the light of the teachings of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and our predecessors, as-Sahaba and as-Salaf as-Salih, is that we affirm to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what He affirmed for Himself. He said that He has hands. Oh, He has hands. Without alteration, without interpretation, without changing, without giving our personal opinion, because He has hands. How does His hand or hands look like? We don't know. End of story. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said He istawa ala al-arsh. How did He do the istawa ala al-arsh? How? We don't know. He didn't explain it to us. And the companions did not even bother to ask. So we take whatever Allah described Himself with as facts. Okay? He says He descends to our worldly heaven every night on the last part of the night. How does this happen? I told you before, your mind is very limited and your understanding is very narrow. You cannot comprehend how does this happen. You cannot comprehend the process of the creation. You cannot comprehend that Allah created us from mud, from dust and water, made into mud, and this is our origin. Also, you cannot imagine how the process of the creation happened from a sperm into a beautiful, nice looking human being. قد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين.